Hey, okay. So if you haven't noticed, yes, we are in a different location. Technically not exactly, we are in the exact same room. You're just off the bed. Because first of all, I wanted to be cozy. And second of all, we're gonna be reading horror stories today. Ain't that sound fun? Yes, we're gonna be reading Reddit horror stories that I found because guess what? I had already filmed about a 30-minute video of me reading some Reddit stories, only one of them being horror stories, being a horror. One of, okay, only one of them being a horror story. But when I sent the video to, guess what? My editor, because I have one now.
Unless I'll eventually get an actual editor, which I won't.
When I sent it to him, there was no audio. So I checked, and in fact, no audio on that video. And if there's no audio on this video, I'm going to be really pissed off because it's showing me that it can hear me talking right now. So actually, let me check. Oh, so great. It's not connected to my headphones. Hold on. Alexa, Bluetooth off. Alexa.
Alexa, turn off Bluetooth. Okay, cool. So it can still hear me, and it's actually connected to my headphones this time. And I know the camera quality's bad, but I feel like this is worse. And that's just really bright. So we're gonna stick with that. And even though you can barely see me, it does give more of a spooky vibe as opposed to the extremely bright higher quality. So instead of what we normally do when we make my camera tiny and we have the big screen, this time I'm going to have my editor, please and thank you, put what I'm going to send him screenshots of. I'm going to send him screenshots and have him put the screenshot in this tiny corner up here of the text. Hopefully it's big enough that you can read it. And I'm gonna chill over here with my old ass blanket, and we're gonna read some Reddit stories. And if you're wondering how I'm gonna read them, if you're all the way over there, I'm gonna read them on my phone.
Hello there.
So that's cool. Um, yeah, we're gonna read some horror stories.
I don't know where the ghosts are at, bro. I can't find them. Right there!
Uh, hold on. First up, we have. Hold on, let me get comfy. We have. I am not schizophrenic, and I'm not going insane. The screen door to the backyard locked on its own. This is a really short post, by the way. I don't really know if this is the right place to post this, but I'm going to. The first time I thought I might have locked it, and maybe I just forgot. It's unusual of me to lock it, but maybe I did. The second time the screen door was wide open, and there was no one in the house with me. And maybe, there is. Also, the house doesn't have any apps or anything that could just lock doors and turn the lights on and off. It can't be my parents preventing me to go outside. This has scared me to the point that I lock my bedroom door. I'll keep you guys updated if anything else happens. Um, there is no update as far as I'm aware. Let me look at their. Yep, all their posts are hidden, so they're a freak actually. But I don't see any updates. But I mean, that's not much of a horror story. I just kind of read the titles. I didn't want to spoil anything for myself. Um, I've done that myself, where I thought I locked something and I didn't, or I did lock something and then it's not locked. You know, I mean, I feel like everybody makes that mistake. It's human. But if it's happening many, many times, and you're like sure you did lock it or didn't lock it, whatever. I don't know, man. I don't know. Uh, get help. I don't know, man. Take a picture. Next time, if lock it, take a picture. So that next time and you see that it is unlocked or isn't unlocked, you're like, well, yeah, I know I did that, you know? If you understand what I mean. I don't know. I'm not helpful. I'm just having fun. Okay, next is a really long story to even that balance that out, I guess. I don't. This might. It says it's on r/real horror stories. I think one of my subscribers is watching me. I did not start writing on Reddit because I wanted attention. That is the lie people tell when they want to feel clean about their compulsions. I started because it was the only place I could put down a thought and walk away without it following me home. Or so I believe. Sorry, my nose with this. At first, the routine was harmless. Just a throwaway account, late nights, and the soft glow of a laptop illuminating an unmade bed. I worked a monotonous remote job and lived alone in a town built to be passed through rather than lived in, sorry. When the workday ended, the silence came on thick and heavy. Writings, writing filled the empty space. Writing kept the walls from listening. I gravitated towards the horror subreddits because they offered a brutal honesty. The readers there understand dread, not the theatrical frights, but the slow creeping rot that settles deep in your chest and refuses to leave. Early posts were small observations. A man who waved every night from the edge of a cornfield. A voicemail played, rhythmic breathing only when rewound. The comments were kind and encouraging, with familiar usernames popping up to offer praise. Then I wrote The Quiet Neighbor, and the atmosphere shifted. It was a first person story about a man whose neighbor stands stands in the exact same spot outside his house every morning, lingering just beyond the reach of the porch light, never moving, never closer, never gone. It kept I kept the prose, what does that mean? Restrained, offering no clean explanations, letting the reader sit in the raw uncertainty. Performed exceptionally well. Front page, thousands of upvotes, a flood of messages asking if it was based on true events. Answering those messages was my first mistake. I replied casually, thanks. Just fiction. Inspired by a mood, nothing more. I went to bed writing the euphoric high writers. I assume that's supposed to say writers high. I get when a piece truly connects. The next morning, a lone notification waited for me. A new comment. Posted at 3:12 a.m. No username, just deleted. He likes the dark between the porch light and the street. I shrugged the notification away. It was a creepy addition, par for the course, in a community where readers love to play along. But the phrasing lingered like a foul smell. Not the neighbor, the general subject. Not a general subject, just he, familiar. Utterly specific. I did not respond. The night following, another comment appeared under the same post, still deleted, with identical cadence and calm certainty. He can see you through the screen door. The timestamp read 13:12 a.m. Shit. 3:12 a.m. I'm trying to really get into this, but the problem is I can't read. Okay. I blamed an insomniac troll with a flair for the actual oh my god. I blamed I blamed an insomniac troll with flair for theatrical timing. The internet breeds them. Still, I locked my doors that night, more out of ritual than genuine fear. I began cataloging the ambient sounds of the house, the refrigerator kicking into gear, the wind pressing heavy against the vinyl siding, a solitary car passing by the road out front, nothing more. A few days later, I posted a new piece, a completely different premise about a woman who hears phantom typing from an empty office down the hall. The standard praise rolled in. Then, buried halfway down the thread, said another comment from deleted. The typing stops when you hold your breath. Timestamped at 3:12 a.m. A cold pool at the base of my throat. I I don't know what that says. My profile, dissecting years of posts and comments. I had never shared a location, a name, a photograph. The oppressive weight of being watched settled over me anyway. I blamed coincidence, primarily because the alternative required believing the impossible. 2 weeks in, 2 weeks passed in agonizingly slow motion. I tried to ignore the threads, but the compulsion always won. The comments never addressed the plot directly. Instead, they dissected my structure, my pacing, and the precise details I chose to omit. Always deleted. Always 3:12 a.m. I began sleeping with the laptop closed shut. Then the power grid failed. No storm warning to precede it, and the lights did not flicker before dying. Total darkness swallowed my room. Downtown, the town possessed cheap infrastructure and old lines, making blackouts common. I grabbed my phone and engaged the flashlight and navigated the hallway to check the breaker panel. The smell hit me first. Damp earth and freshly turned soil. I had no place inside a dry house. I stood absolutely motionless in the dark. The floorboards groaned as the temperature dropped. Somewhere deep in the walls, water moved through copper pipes. I blamed the natural odors of an aging foundation. When the power returned, I stepped away from the keyboard entirely. I needed space to let my racing mind settle. In the absence of news stories, the direct messages began. Private texts from accounts with empty icons and deleted usernames. We miss your words. I blocked the account. The platform simply replaced it with another. I tested the carbon monoxide detector and swapped the batteries just to be certain. I researched paranoia symptoms and slammed the browser shut before reading the results. Then came a small detail, something I wish I had missed. The quiet neighbor. I'm so cold. Sorry, I'm freezing. Then, then came a small detail, something I wish I had missed. In The Quiet Neighbor, I described the protagonist's house as having a cracked third step leading to the porch. It was meant to be texture, simple, atmospheric set dressing. The next morning, I walked outside to collect the mail. The third step of my own porch now bore a fresh, jagged hairline fracture. I crouched and traced the fissure with my index finger. The concrete felt cold and entirely unremarkable. I laughed out loud at my own unraveling mind. That night, at 3:12 a.m., a single notification awoke the dormant thread. Concrete shifts when the ground is disturbed. I stopped laughing. I began meticulously documenting everything. Dates, exact times, digital screenshots. Yes, every time I reviewed the files, the data had mutated. A crucial image missing. A timestamp shifted by an hour. A digital note I had no memory of drafting. Written in my exact off something voice. One entry sat alone in a blank document. He doesn't like when you check the windows twice. I wiped the drive clean. The following afternoon, the latch on the bathroom window sat open. It requires a specific, forceful jiggle to unlock, and I check it religiously every night. I sat on the porcelain edge of the bathtub and stared at the latch. The glass offered only a warped, pale reflection of my own face. Desperation pushed me back to the keyboard. I avoided fiction and posted a purely analytical essay of the mechanics of writing. Fear, arguing, and the unknown holds more power than the explicit. It felt safe and detached. The first comment arrived almost instantly. We are not the unknown. Time stamped at 3:12 a.m. I slammed the lid down. My hands shook violently. No more rationalizing. I drafted a frantic message to the forum moderators, detailing the patterns, the exact timestamps, the undeniable escalation. They responded with polite sympathy, suggesting that obsessive trolls often latch on to rising creators. They advised me to step back, mute all notifications, or simply delete the account, erasing my digital identity like a potent mixture of grief and salvation. I hovered the cursor over the deletion prompt for 10 full minutes. Before I could click, that final direct message arrived. You cannot delete us. That was the moment the floor gave way entirely. The plural pronoun severed my last tether to logic. I deleted the account. The platform logged me out, the page refreshed, and the pseudonym vanished. The resulting silence felt clinical and wrong, much as much like a room shipped out of furniture where only the heavy indentations remain of the carpet. I went to bed early and slept in fractured bursts. At exactly 3:12 a.m., my eyes snapped open, no noise woke me, the only absolute certainty that the atmosphere in the house had shifted. I lay paralyzed, regulating my breath to listen. A wet, soft rhythm resonated from just beyond the exterior wall. Not footsteps. It was slow, patient. Respiration pressed directly against the vinyl siding. I refused to check the window. The scent of damp earth fermented by the drywall. By morning, barefoot impressions ruined the soil in front of the flower bed, deep, heavy, and facing the house. The responding police officers took unenthusiastic notes. They asked standard questions regarding enemies, narcotic use, and occupational stress. They suggested security cameras to ease the nerves. I installed 3 that afternoon, recovering the front yard, the back door, the blind side of my house. Night fell, and I sat paralyzed at my kitchen table, obsessively monitoring the live feeds on my phone. At 3:11 a.m., the perimeter remained secure. At 3:12 a.m., the front camera fragmented into static. Then the picture stabilized. A second later, a figure occupied at the absolute edge of the frame. It stood far back, perfectly positioned where artificial light bled into the dark. The resolution offered no facial details, but the unnatural stillness commanded the screen. The digital timestamp flickered once before the entire feed froze completely. The next morning, the application classified the footage between 312 and 320 as a corrupted file. I packed a single duffel bag and drove blindly into a decaying motel 2 towns over, leaving every light in the room burningly bright. I promised myself the retreat was a temporary measure to regain perspective. The local wireless connection provided agonizingly slow. Yet, at 3:12 a.m., my phone vibrated on the cheap nightstand. A push notification alerted me a new submission. It was published under my deleted username. The title read The Writer Who Tried to Leave. How long is this? Okay, it's almost over. I opened the link with trembling fingers. The post mirrored my exact voice, matching my rhythm, my disciplined restraint, clean sentences with controlled rough edges. The text described this exact motel. It detailed the neon sign flickering outside the window, and the lingering door of industrial bleach masking stale tobacco. It cataloged the contents of my unpacked bag and mocked the way my hand unconsciously drifted to the deadbolt. Then the narrative shifted. It described the tall, unmoving shape occupying the bathroom doorway just outside my peripheral vision. It detailed how the thing waited in perfect silence for the precise moment I would look up from the screen. The story ended mid-sentence. I did not turn around. Blood hammered against my ribs as I stared down the glowing screen, for it felt like hours. When my muscles finally obeyed, I kept my eyes locked forward, grabbed the keys, and ran out the door. I'm typing this manuscript from an old, undisclosed location. I refuse to name the city. I refuse to document the date. I no longer check the time. I no longer write fiction. I documented this reality instead. Whenever I stop typing, the air in the room grows thick, as if the room is waiting for absolute silence to take its final move. If you happen to read this at 3:12 a.m., a cold familiarity settles over your skin. If you entertain that brief, terrifying thought, this is not merely your story. Not that is not paranoia. That is pacing, and it knows you are here. Holy shit, dog! It is 3:15, but it's not a.m. It is p.m. That it's an re- this is under real horror stories. I'm pretty sure that's supposed to mean it's nonfiction, but I'm pretty sure this isn't real. But I don't care. That was awesome. That was fantabulous. Um, if that's, I mean, I do somewhat believe in the paranormal. If you believe in the paranormal, holy shit, dog. Also, it could just be like a crazy ass stalker. Um, whoa, whoa. Um, yeah, okay. Hold on, I don't know if I want to read that one or this one. Alright, I thought I was sick. Now I think my body is trying to make room. The itching didn't feel like it belonged to my skin. I felt like something underneath was trying to get out. By the time I realized it scratched back, it was already bleeding. It started in my left forearm, deep, not the kind of itch you can reach. It felt internal, like nerves misfiring, the pressure tapping from the inside. Scratching only made it angrier. The relief lasted seconds before the sensation turned stronger, sharper, more insistent. By the fourth day, my arms felt heavier, not swollen, occupied. When I pressed into it, my skin resisted before slowly rising back into place, like it remembered being stretched. That's when I noticed the lines. Three faint depressions in the skin, perfectly parallel, running lengthwise along my arm. Too straight to be veins, too precise to be random. They looked like seams. I stopped sleeping. Sleep is when it learned how I worked. The first time it moved, I was awake enough to feel it, but not awake enough to stop it. A slow internal slide, tissue shifting where tissue should not shift. Something relocating itself inside me. Careful, patient. I bit the inside of my cheek hard enough to draw blood. When I checked the mirror, there were bite marks. They were wider than my mouth. I went to urgent care. Blood work came back clean. Imaging came back normal. The PA suggested dermatitis and stress and told me avoid scratching. During the scan, the radiologist went quiet. He stared at the screen for a long time. Then he left the room. He never came back. The heat started after that. Not a fever. Patches of warmth underneath my skin, like incubators switching on one by one. The heat moved through my body, forearm, shoulder, abdomen. Sometimes when I pressed ice packs to my skin, it felt cold on the surface, while the heat underneath stayed steady, growing. I started recording myself sleeping because I was afraid I was dying every night and waking up by accident. The third night was the one I can't forget. At 12, shit. At 2:17 a.m., my body arched violently, spine bowing as if something had hooked itself under my ribs and pulled. My arms pressed flat against the mattress, fingers splayed, nails bending backwards. Then my skin rose, not swelling, lifting. Long shapes pushed out. Hold on. Long shapes pushed outwards beneath my ribs and stomach, stretching my skin thin and glossy. Veins spiderwebbed as something rearranged itself near the surface. Joints bent where joints shouldn't exist. My mouth opened, not to scream. I smiled. Wide. Wrong. I don't remember any of it. I woke up on the floor beside my bed, my jaw aching like it had been forced open too far. The itching was gone. In its place was fullness, crowding, like my organs had been shoved aside to make space. I went in the bathroom and lifted my shirt. My stomach was distended, skin tight and shiny, pulled smooth like plastic wrap stretched too far. Beneath it, shapes drifted lazily, pressing, folding, testing, too many limbs, too many bends. Something dragged itself slowly across the inside of my abdomen. I screamed. It stopped. Then it pushed back. A single point pressed outward just below my navel. Slow, deliberate, cautious. The skin thinned until I could see the pale shape beneath it. A fingernail. It scraped once. The sound came from inside me. My phone buzzed on the counter. I couldn't look away. The nail pressed harder. My skin split with a soft, wet sound. A thin red line opened and widened, something forcing its way through, stretching the opening past what skin would allow. A finger emerged, then another. They flexed. The hand was pale and damp. The nails were chewed down to ragged edges like they had been bitten for years. I grabbed my skin and pulled. I felt it tear loose from something deep inside of me. A sickening sensation, like an organ being peeled free. I collapsed against the sink as more of it forced its way out, rearranging my insides as it went. The hand stopped. Something inside me grabbed it, yanked it backward. A hand vanished, snapping back inside me as my skin slammed shut around it like a mouth. I screamed until my throat burned. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Your body adapts beautifully. My stomach shifted. Not a ripple, a rotation. Like whatever was inside of me had finally turned around. I felt teeth pressed against the inside of my skin, and my phone started ringing. Buddy. I'm a little creeped out, I'm not gonna lie. My hip hurts. I'm a little creeped out, man. I'm a little creeped out. What the fuck was that? I'm good. Actually, I'm good. What? Obviously, that's not a real story. Obviously. I searched real horror stories, and that's what I got, so I'm a little confused. But, hello? Hello? Whatever. I'm gonna send the screenshots to my editor of them and have him put them up here. And, I hope you enjoyed to my story reading, because I actually quite enjoyed reading this. And if you have stories you would like me to read, put them out there, bud. I'll read them. And bye!